It's now time for Touch of Base in Seoul, and this week we're joined by Ms. Park Eunhee, who is a North Korean defector who came to South Korea in 2012. Park fled North Korea at the age of 22 in search of freedom, travelling through China, Laos, Thailand, and finally ending up in South Korea, where she's now based. Since settling here, she has joined other defectors in speaking out against the North Korean regime, but she has also called on South Korean people and the international community to see beyond that and recognise the resilience of the North Korean people. To hear more about her story, I'm glad to say that she has joined us today in the studio. Welcome to the show, Ms. Park.
Thank you for having me. It's a very honor to be invited here as a speaker.
Yes, can you briefly introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers on YouTube as well?
You gave the introduction already, but I'm going to introduce by myself. So I'm an escapee, a North Korean escapee from Wonsan, which is on the east coast of North Korea, as known also like Kim Jong-un's hometown, which I never heard of when I was in the north. And when I was 21, I landed in South Korea. Actually, it's Korean age and the international age is different.
Of course,
so,
yes. I said 22 earlier, but in Western age, it'd be 21. Of course, yes.
So now, currently, I have been living in South Korea about 8 years. Now I'm a business student and also I'm a YouTube creator as well.
Right. As you said, you escaped North Korea when you were 21 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? What was your life in North Korea like before you left, and what prompted you to make this decision to defect?
Actually, I was just an ordinary student who studied chemistry at college. Just the first year, I decided to leave my country when I was 17. Korean age is 18. It's difficult. I'm going to just deliver my age as international age.
Sure, of course.
So I was just an ordinary student, and at the age of 17, it was my first time to watch South Korean dramas. From my friend gave me that's a USB, and I saw people are very freely. And on the street, the women have long hair, and there is no any police to check what kind of clothes the women wear. And I got punished many times, and then I stand up at the police station without any food, without any moving, and several times.
Right, so you saw these Korean TV dramas and from there sparked this interest and you wanted to grow your hair out and wear earrings and other accessories, and that got you into trouble, you're saying, right?
Yeah, right. It's specifically freedom of expression. Many people may think that the reason of escaping just related to starvation or poverty, but also nowadays many people escaped for freedom, kind of like me, to express yourself. So think about it. People may think, oh, it is very superficial things to have long hair and the clothes you want to wear. But actually, it's very deeper than that. So think about when there is no any choice what you want to do, how can you make and then how can you progress your life? So at the age of 17, I decided to leave that country for freedom, that I can be who I am.
Right. I mean, not being able to grow your hair, that might seem like a small point, but that's just the small point in a very larger picture about you being oppressed and not having any freedoms even to control how you grow your hair. And that pushed you to make this very brave and incredible decision. Can you tell us about that journey then? I said earlier that you went through China, Laos and Thailand. Can you tell us about how that process was like?
My hometown is very near the border between the South and North Korea. It's Wonsan. It's quite far from the China. So I had to go to the northern part of North Korea, which is called Yangang province, the Haesan. And then I crossed the river at I think 3 o'clock with the other four defectors, including 1-year baby. It was a very dangerous moment. But one thing that in my mind was just surviving. I didn't feel any anxiety and scarcity, just surviving to go through this way to make my dream come true to be a free person. So it took 7 days to go through the China. Transferring by the cars and buses. And I had to also cross the border between the Laos and China by hiking over 7 hours. It was the most difficult moment for me. I cannot forget this moment in my life. If I think about that moment, I can do everything. And then we had to go to Thailand. Oh, sorry. Thailand. So, and then find the police office and then say that we want to go to South Korea. So the policies in Thailand already know the path, how can they manage North Korean defectors. So they put us in jail. So I had to be there over 50 days while the South Korean embassy members make our identity as a South Korean. And yeah, so total 50 days, I finally landed in South Korea.
Sure, you were in jail in Thailand, but you knew then that you must have been safe by then. Up to that point, though, it must have been very frightening because if you were caught in China, you could be in a lot of trouble, sent back, and who knows what happens.
Yeah, it's our girl was the luckiest members that we could survive to come to South Korea, but many people also are struggling to go through that path to make their way because of its uncertainty. Many people are caught and then being repatriated in North Korea, but we are lucky.
Sure. Once you're in Thailand, even though you were held there for 50 days, the Unification Ministry in South Korea comes and they processes your situation, and then you eventually landed here in South Korea. What was that like when you finally made it to South Korea?
Oh, it was the very different world that I never exposed. Many people asked me, what was the first impression of South Korea when you came? But actually, there are lots of plentiful things that I have to catch up, such as like advanced technology and different lifestyle and education differences. But so for 4 years, I can say I was too busy to settle down. But after 4 years, I could eventually think about the first impressions if I deliver several things. First of all, it's the kind of like eating beef without any worrying to be caught, because in North Korea it's illegal to kill the cows and eating beefs, even though someone is very starved to death. If they kill the cows, it's the like criminal reason to be executed. So when I was young, I saw many people who killed the cows be executed in the public. It was the most shocking thing for me. And the other thing is freedom of speeches. So for several years ago, we can see many people protest, in the Ganghamun. I was shocked. It was the most shocking thing for me. Even in North Korea, we cannot even call Kim Jong-un as Kim Jong-un. We have to already name on them with the general leader and our heroes. But in South Korea, people just like call president's name and they make their voices.
Sure.
It was amazing. And then I see the true meaning of the value of democracy.
Right, from simple luxuries as eating beef to bigger, more important ideals such as freedom of speech you experienced when you came to South Korea. But it must have been so difficult, as you said. It must have a completely different world. There must have been a lot of challenges for you, even adjusting to that idea of freedom of speech.
Yeah, it was a very difficult word. Like, if I mention the Yuval Harari, who wrote about the Sapiens, mentioned that what if the member of the Columbus see this world, the advanced world we live in, what he or she thinks about? That was my position when I came to South Korea. There are many things that I never saw in my life. So first of all, kind of like Konglish words that the Korean accepted English. So it's not easy to settle down. Most of North Korean defectors are struggling to live with that. So, yeah.
But even through all that, do you feel that in the end, this is what you wanted? Were you happy to be in South Korea? Were you able to appreciate everything that South Korea offered?
Yeah, it's one of the best things that I made in my life is escaping from the North Korea and then landed in South Korea. I often think about my life in the other countries, like such as Colombia and Mexico. I cannot be the person fully enjoy democracy and freedom, because in South Korea, such a developed country, and then people are eager to make better lives. So that's why I can, be that person who can enjoy given freedom freely. And I am so thankful that I landed in South Korea.
And not just living here in South Korea, you've been speaking up about your experiences in North Korea as well. You've spoken in a number of international events and forums, including a TED event here in Seoul, where you spoke about the lives of North Korean women. You were featured as a speaker at the Oslo Freedom Forum last year, where you gave a speech titled A Bright and Free Future for North Korea. As I mentioned, in your talks, you seem to want to go beyond just the narrative of human rights abuses or nuclear weapons and Kim Jong-un and whatnot. What drives you to speak about what you do? What issues are important to you?
The main reason was that because of the stereotype and also discrimination towards North Korean defectors in South Korea. When I was in North Korea, I thought like all of South Koreans are welcome to us, but its reality was different than what I expected. And many people think that North Koreans are from just poor country, and then they analyze the external sources. We cannot change it. They don't see our internal sources, what we have been through and what we made our lives better. So I want to show and like North Korean people are capable to be, in democracy. We can make develop, and also we are the part of members in this country. So I just stood up to speak about. The reason was I met lots of people from other countries who want to support North Korean defectors, who want to help North Koreans. And at the first time, I was ashamed to be as a North Korean defector because of the society, because of the stereotype. But when I see the word people are supported us, and I want to stand up to speak about what they want to hear. And it was my duty to speak about for 25 million individuals who live under the totalitarianism.
Right, and not just through these talks. You've been speaking up in your YouTube channels as well, in both Korean and English, trying to reach a wider audience. And it seems to be that you are reaching these people. What kind of reaction do you get from people?
Actually, the reactions from Korean people and the international audiences are quite different. Korean people, usually my audiences are above 60 or 50. So they have already fixed the mindset. They want to teach us. They want to teach me, hey, you don't know much about democracy, and they don't say anything about democracy-like things. But also some people are very supportive. I'm very grateful that I met some audiences who helped me and support and gave me scholarship for studying. But international audiences more focus on the freedom, individual freedom, and we are guaranteed with that. So when I hear about your story, I'm so grateful that I was born in America, in my country with the given freedom. Yeah.
I think it's incredible to see what you've achieved and what you've gone through and speaking up like you do. And you seem to be settling into life in South Korea very well. What do you want to do next? I understand, as you said, you are a student now studying business here at university. Do you have any goals or dreams that you want to fulfill going forward?
Actually, I have always like a bigger dream, not just ordinary people, because since I escaped from North Korea, I realized that I'm not just ordinary girl anymore. So in my goal is establishing my own NGO for refugees from other countries who are seeking better lives like me. Many people say that why don't you work for North Korean people? I don't want to limit myself to help only North Koreans. I want to help the people who are need my help in the world. So for that, I have to experience what can I, show my ability, and then in the corporations and other NGOs. So yeah, it's well, luckily I got a job as an internship at Eunhee. You already had.
Right, he's a famous investor here in South Korea.
Yeah.
It sounds like an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, sure. So that kind of things I have to, expose myself to learn many things in the new industry.
Well, it sounds like you have extremely honourable and well-intentioned ambitions, and I wish you all the best of luck. We thank you for coming in today and sharing your story with us. We've been speaking to North Korean defector Ms. Park Eunhee. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.